He didn't shake my hand. That's how it started. Rolled into the office like he'd won the job in a cereal box sweepstakes. Blue blazer, loud shoes, cheap cologne. I was standing right there, 14 years in that building. Not that he noticed. He walked straight past me like I was part of the damn wall. Name's Jared, of course it is. 30-something, loud, fast talker, no substance. The kind of guy who drinks craft beer and calls himself a disruptor. New fleet director, brought in to shake things up. That was Trent's exact phrase. Trent, my boss. If you can call a glorified clock watcher a boss. Anyway, Jared wasted no time making a scene. First day, he mocked my paper files in the bullpen. "What is this, 1998? He said, holding one up like it was roadkill. Couple people laughed. I didn't. Just marked the moment. First sign he didn't have a clue what I did. Which, to be fair, most people don't. That's by design. My name's Ron. I'm 51. I live in Kansas City, Missouri. I've been working at Swift Track Logistics since before Jared was out of college. 14 years in routing compliance. I'm the reason our contracts don't get shredded by DOT audits. But I don't advertise that. I play the quiet guy. It's safer. Quick note. Before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. Anyway, Jared didn't care about any of it. He swaggered around like the job was a reality show. Gave dispatch direct orders without checking with anyone. Skipped onboarding meetings. Laughed at the routing software tutorial. Said it was intuitive. It's not. Not if you care about safety protocols and waiver conditions. Which, shocker, he didn't. 2 weeks in, we were in a routing strategy meeting, one of the big ones, with legal and procurement. I flagged a clause in a bid draft. Would have voided the government contract if DOT reviewed it. Clear violation. I pointed it out calmly. Jared blinked, then smiled like I'd just told a dad joke. "Ron, buddy, I think we're good." Let's not slow it down over technicalities, and just like that, everyone laughed along with him. Like we weren't sitting on a $500,000 risk. Like I was the weird old guy dragging things down. I didn't say another word in that meeting, just closed my folder, watched him scribble something down, and marked the moment again. Jared had no idea what was under his feet. And he sure as hell didn't know what I kept track of. But he'd find out, because I wasn't going to let him sink the ship I'd spent 14 years holding together. I had his name, and I had time. The calendar invite never came. That's how I knew. It was a critical pre-audit call with the Department of Transportation, and my name wasn't on the invite. Routing compliance, vendor paperwork, federal review prep, all in my wheelhouse. But not this time. I didn't bother asking why. I already knew. Jared was cutting me out, not with confrontation, with silence. First the safety committee, reassigned, no explanation. Then the monthly routing compliance reviews. Suddenly, those were handled by his tech buddy, some guy named Chris who couldn't explain the difference between a clause and a condition. Trent just nodded along through all of it. That man had spent 22 years in the same office chair and now acted like Jared was Moses parting the Red Sea. "We're modernizing the process," he said with a smirk, like it was some badge of honor. I kept showing up, though. Took notes, logged access changes, watched the way my usual folders started disappearing from shared drives. And then came the vendor pitch. Jared called it a forward-facing innovation briefing. Basically, he wanted to show off his new toy, a fleet tech startup he found at some logistics expo. The conference room was half full of suits I didn't recognize. Legal, ops, IT. I recognized only one guy. Margaret from Routing's supervisor, chewing gum like a cow and scrolling on his phone the whole time. Jared looked way too excited. Like prom night, excited. The vendor rolled in with slick branding and a big screen. Said their platform could revolutionize our route optimization and compliance tracking. They tossed around buzzwords like they were free samples, AI-enhanced real-time dashboards, automated approval chains. Looked like they'd built the whole thing over a weekend, using YouTube tutorials and caffeine. But then it slipped. The vendor, mid-slide, mentioned, real casual, that their system wasn't DOT certified yet. "Still pending," he said. "Just a formality." I blinked. Legal shifted in their seats. Then Jared laughed. Loud, confident, stupid. "Compliance is just paperwork," he said, leaning back in his chair like he'd won something. The room chuckled with him. Of course they did. That was my moment. I pulled out my phone under the table. No hesitation. Hit record. No theatrics. No hesitation. Just a thumb press and a quiet lock screen. I kept the mic pointed at the table. Audio was clean. They moved on to metrics. I barely heard it. I was thinking about that phrase. Compliance is just paperwork. I'd built my entire career on the opposite. I'd chased signatures across 4 states, flagged routing clauses that would have buried us in fines, personally prevented at least 3 full shutdowns due to overlooked DOT conditions. And now I was watching a man with zero field time laugh it all off like it was busy work. That night, I stayed late, didn't say goodbye to anyone, didn't even grab coffee. Just walked back to my cubicle, sat down, and opened my log sheet. The vendor name, meeting time, date, attendees, all of it. I added a row for the phrase, compliance is just paperwork, logged it with a red flag next to the audio file. My phone buzzed. Email from Margaret, subject line blank, just a single sentence. You didn't hear this from me, but they're setting up a streamlined audit task force. You're not on it. I didn't reply, didn't need to. They thought if they kept me off the call sheet, off the invites, off the roster, I'd vanish, fade out like an old printer job. But I wasn't going anywhere. I stayed late again the next night, listened to the audio 3 times, pulled the federal guidelines, cross-referenced the vendor's missing certs with DOT site logs. Then I backed everything up to a personal drive. Phone clip, file logs, calendar exclusions, all of it. Because omission isn't an accident, it's strategy, and I had one too. I sat in the far corner of the garage, engine off, heater running low. Dim overhead lights buzzed, and the air smelled like dust and brake fluid. Perfect. Quiet, forgotten. Like me, until now. I pulled out my personal laptop, no work Wi-Fi, no traceable logins. Just a clean browser and a burner Gmail I'd created a year ago, back when Jared first started gutting compliance reviews. I attached the audio file. No edits, no subject line games. I typed 5 words. Recorded during pitch meeting. Urgent. Then I entered the email. Direct contact at the Federal Highway Safety Board. Not the public address, the one I had from a routing conference years ago. She owed me a favor. I hit send, click, logged. I shut the laptop. My hands weren't shaking. No adrenaline, no guilt. Just cold clarity. 14 years I'd played the cleanup guy. The one who fixed things quietly, behind the curtain. Jared had no idea what curtain he was pulling on. The next morning, 10:14 a.m., the inquiry came in. Soft tone, friendly greeting, stamped with a federal seal. Polite language. It looked harmless. It wasn't. The message went to legal, executive, compliance, and, by mistake or design, Trent. And just like that, panic set in. Jared didn't feel it. Not yet. He strutted past my cubicle around noon, sipping that disgusting matcha drink he swore helped with mental focus. He winked at someone from HR and kept walking like he owned the floor. I minimized the message thread and opened my binder. Started a new tab. External trigger. FHSA inquiry. 10:14 a.m. Then I got to work. Pulled every vendor contract Jared had greenlit. Searched for approvals with his signature, or worse, digital initials with no timestamp. I found 7 in the first hour. 4 had waiver sections left blank. 2 were over the federal limit for uncertified routing software use. 1 was labeled DOT ready, which, in actual terms, means nothing. I printed copies, stapled them by risk category, made a second set for my offsite folder. At 1:37 p.m., Margaret from routing passed my desk. Didn't say a word, didn't even glance at me, just walked by, turned around 5 minutes later, passed again. Third time, she was holding her phone like she was texting, but the screen was off. She didn't make eye contact. That told me everything. They knew, not who did it, but that someone did. And they were scared enough not to ask questions. I opened Slack, my access still worked, and checked the fleet channel. Nothing about the FHSA email. Just a lot of messages suddenly marked as edited. A few even deleted. Chris, the one Jared tapped to lead routing innovation, removed his own compliance checklist doc. Too late, I'd already printed it last week. Highlighted every gap in orange. By 3 p.m., Trent was pacing near legal's door. That man hadn't walked more than 30 feet in a decade, and now he looked like a mall walker in khakis. He spotted me once, froze, then turned around. I didn't move, just kept compiling. Every clause Jared skipped, every approval he fast-tracked, every policy he mocked in front of a room full of yes men. By 5, I had the full picture. A binder stacked an inch thick, not even counting the digital mirror in my home safe. Still no one talked to me, No emails, no questions. No passive-aggressive notes on my chair. But the silence said enough. They were waiting, watching, hoping it would pass. It wouldn't, because the real panic hadn't hit yet, but it was coming. The next morning, I went to print a 3-page clause list. Nothing happened. I checked the tray. Paper loaded, no jam, no error on screen. Just a soft, blinking light, like it was waiting for permission. I checked the job queue. My name wasn't there. Legals was. Dispatches was. Jared's daily calendar printout, still hot in the tray, but mine, gone. I logged the incident. Date, Wednesday. Time, 8:46 a.m. Issue, access denied, printer ID number 021. No change request on file. Then I walked over to Trent's office. Door half closed. Lights on. He saw me and immediately looked busy adjusting his blinds. I didn't knock. Back at my desk, I opened Slack, went to the dispatch log channel. All the color-coded updates, overnight fuel reroutes, DOT hold alerts, hours of service triggers, should have been there. They were. But I couldn't comment, couldn't tag anyone, couldn't download files. My name in the sidebar had a little lock icon next to it now. Read only. I didn't make a sound. Didn't complain. I just added another log row. Slack, limited access dispatch channel. No permissions change notice issued. It wasn't a mistake. It was a message. But the silence told me more than any meeting ever had. They were panicking. That's when the notes started showing up. No senders, no subject lines. One came at 9:12 p.m., a forwarded email chain showing Jared approving a vendor invoice dated before their contract was finalized. Another came from a Hotmail address that looked fake, just a screenshot of an edited compliance form. Timestamp circled in red. Then came the late-night drops. Manila folders slid under my cubicle wall. No names, no explanations. Just printed PDFs with metadata discrepancies, like someone was tracking version histories from inside. I checked every single one, verified, printed again, logged it, stored in physical folders by category. Edits, redacted. Sign-offs, missing. Audit chain, incomplete. The thing about digital sabotage is it's messy. You can delete a file, you can change a timestamp, but you can't gaslight paper. Paper doesn't lie. One night, just before I left, I found a sticky note on my keyboard. It read, check routing batch 3127. Timestamps don't match dispatch logs. No initials, no handwriting I recognized. I checked it. They were right. Routing software showed a timestamp that didn't exist on the original dispatch chain. It was created after hours by Jared's admin login on a Sunday, logged it, printed screenshots, stapled to backup log, filed under unauthorized after-hours modifications. They thought they could box me out. What they didn't realize is they'd already opened the door. The moment I stopped being included, I started documenting everything, and the deeper I went, the sloppier it got. This wasn't strategy anymore. It was fear. Twitchy, desperate fear. The kind that makes people forget how audit trails work. So I let them play their games. Block my printer, mute my Slack, leave my badge blinking red at the break room door. Fine. I had folders. I had backups. And now, I had witnesses. 2 days later, I was grabbing coffee when a junior IT guy hovered near my cubicle. Skinny kid, maybe 23. Badge flipped backward, laptop clutched like a shield. Ron? He asked, voice cracking halfway through. I turned. He winced. Sorry. Real quick. Did you log into the vendor compliance folder yesterday morning? Around 6:12 a.m.? No, I said. Why? He swallowed hard. There was an edit. Under your user ID, a field was overwritten on Jared's vendor doc. Someone caught it. What field? He blinked. Cert number. It's blank now. I stood up, slowly. I didn't make that edit. He nodded way too fast. Okay, cool, yeah, just checking. Just protocol. You know he backed up before I could ask another question. Almost tripped over the recycling bin. I sat back down and opened the log system. My heart wasn't racing. Not fear, not panic. Just this sharp, focused pulse behind my eyes. Like someone had flipped a switch. I searched my activity records. There it was. Login, rest in time, 6:12 a.m. Edit vendor_cert_approval.docs. Except I don't start work before 7, ever. And the IP address, not internal, it was a remote VPN, unrecognized device, different location, different OS. Someone had cloned my login. They were trying to pin it on me, clean up Jared's mess by building a new one around my name, frame the guy with the log files, discredit the binder before it hit daylight. That night, I stayed late. Again, office was dead silent. Just a few lights on over dispatch, everyone else long gone. I pulled the access logs, screenshot everything, printed them in sequence, time-stamped each one by hand, pulled the IT access trail, labeled the file, user credential breach, level 1. Then I opened a new legal pad, wrote on the top tab, retaliation, passive stage, stapled the logs to the first page, didn't email it, didn't upload, just filed it. Because the minute you hit send, it becomes theirs. Paper stays mine. At 10:43 p.m., I got the alert. Someone accessed my compliance folder remotely. Not IT, not legal, not even Jared. A new device ID, something generic, no host name. Foreign MAC address. Came in through a backdoor VPN, flagged by our firewall but not blocked. They weren't subtle, they weren't careful. They were moving fast and scared. Bad combo. I didn't report it. I printed the intrusion log, highlighted the IP, cross-referenced the access time with our badge logs. No one from my floor had swiped in after 8 p.m. That narrowed it down. Filed it. Second entry under retaliation. Then the call came. Next morning, 8:07 a.m. HR. Hi, Ron. Can you stop by? 10 minutes? No subject line. No CCS. Just a polite trap. I showed up 10 minutes early. Lila from HR gave me the professional smile. Tight lips, too much eye contact, hands folded like she was praying for smooth sailing. We've had a few concerns raised, she said. Not accusations. Just patterns. What kind of patterns? Well, she said, your name's attached to several document edits. System flags. I leaned forward. Am I under investigation? She hesitated. No, not formally. Then we're done here. I stood. She didn't stop me. Back at my desk, I added the meeting to the log. Time, date, no documentation provided, no formal process invoked. I wasn't just watching anymore. They were. 2 days after the HR meeting, I got the email. Subject line, strategic opportunity, internal placement discussion. Lila copied Trent, of course, just enough formality to make it sound like a promotion. They booked a small conference room, the kind with fake plants and no clock. Jared was already inside, leaned back like he was waiting to approve a budget that didn't matter. Lila launched into it before I even sat down. We're excited to offer you something new, she said. A chance to shape the company's future direction. Culturally, I looked at her. What exactly is the title? Culture and Values Coordinator. I smiled. You want me off compliance. Jared laughed, a single breath through his nose. Not at all. It's lateral. Just better alignment with what? I didn't ask. I just leaned back and crossed my arms. Put it in writing, I said. Lila blinked. Sorry. The offer, the title, the scope, the reason, put all of it in a memo. I'll review it. She glanced at Jared. He didn't say anything. I stood up. Oh, and include the reporting line. I assume it's not compliance? No, she said, quiet now. It's HR perfect, I said. Send it over. Back at my desk, I logged the meeting. Time, participants. Title offered. No documentation provided on site. Logged, strategic reassignment attempt. Indirect retaliation. 30 minutes later, facilities emailed me. Hi, Ron. Want help relocating to the new Values Pod area? I replied, I'm fine where I am. Thanks, no response. That afternoon, my meetings disappeared from the calendar. Weekly compliance touchpoints? Gone. Routing software vendor sync? Canceled. Jared's update calls? No longer invited. My access? Still stripped. No printer restore. Slack logs still locked. But my logs? Still growing. I started a new section in the binder, pattern of isolation, timeline. By Friday, people avoided me like I was contagious. Margaret from routing stopped even walking past. Chris from Jared's team ducked into the bathroom when I got up for coffee. I didn't chase anyone, didn't ask questions. I just waited. And then Jared made his mistake. He passed my desk on his way to Trent's office, stopped, and said it real casual, like he was giving career advice. Nothing personal, Ron. We all have to play to our strengths, I nodded. Thanks for the feedback. Then I met his eyes. I've been documenting everything. His smile twitched. And for the first time since he swaggered into that office, he didn't have anything smart to say. 3 days later, I got the screenshot. No sender, just the image. A system request to disable my personal cloud drive access. Justified as redundant data storage, time-stamped, logged, approved by IT, pushed by Jared. I didn't flinch. I had mirrors of everything and hard copies. Always had. But this time, I opened a new binder. Not a throwaway, not the kind you keep for tracking invoices or shift rotations. I went full architecture mode, tabs, color-coded, indexed by exposure level. First section, executive sign-offs. Names, timestamps, contract IDs, every approval rubber-stamped without reading. Second, login records, failed badge attempts, remote logins, device mismatches, Jared's admin key used from out-of-state IPS, all cross-referenced. Third tab, blank sign-offs. Dozens of forms Jared pushed through without dates, without initials, with entire risk disclosures left unchecked. Then came the heavy section, projected exposure. If even one of those vendor systems had gone live without certification and DOT walked in, we'd be looking at shutdowns, fines in the millions, potential federal contract blacklisting, all traceable back to his paperwork is paperwork moment. I laid it out on spreadsheets, printed every page, and annotated the top line. Scenario, federal intervention required. It wasn't just a binder anymore, it was a kill switch, and it sat in my bottom drawer, face down, with a label on the spine. If asked. I didn't share it, didn't hint at it, just kept working. The isolation campaign had gone quiet. Too quiet. No more printer games, no Slack changes. HR hadn't reached out in over a week. That's when the second federal email arrived. Not vague this time. No soft language. It was surgical. Subject follow-up, FHSA inquiry, secondary review request from Field Office Compliance Investigator to General Counsel, Executive Review, Routing Oversight, CC, me. The body was 3 lines, direct. Please confirm who authorized use of non-certified vendors in routed federal contracts. Documentation request follows attachment. Compliance risk chain matrix.xlsxlegal called me within the hour. No warning, no warm-up. Ron, the voice said. Paula from in-house legal, clipped and tight. Do you have backup logs? I didn't ask which ones. I just replied with a single attachment. File name, routing chain overrides, final.pdf 15 pages, timeline summary, highlighted edits, matching approvals, IP logs, everything they needed to connect Jared's decisions to the original pitch meeting and every blind exec signature after. I didn't hear back for 3 hours. Then the Slack ping started. Legal to IT, IT to compliance, compliance to Trent. I watched my screen light up like a slot machine. Someone had finally pulled the lever. I opened the drawer, pulled out the binder, gave it a soft pat on the cover. They wanted to kill the message before the message hit? Too late. Now the message had backup copies, paper trails, and federal eyes reading it. All I had to do was wait, and they were running out of time. Friday morning, 8:36 a.m., sharp. Black sedan pulled up outside the glass front doors. One guy got out. Gray suit, black folder, no briefcase. Straight posture. Not in a hurry. He walked past reception like he'd been there 100 times. No smile, no check-in. Just a badge flip and a nod. Federal. I watched from the 11th floor lobby. Elevator opened, and he stepped in alone. I didn't follow, didn't need to. I already knew where he was going. Executive wing, quarterly strategy session, closed door, invite only. I wasn't on the list, never had been. But I knew exactly where to stand. Back hallway, behind the frosted glass partition. 2 feet from the conference room's corner wall. Sound bled through, just enough. Inside, the board. Legal, Trent, Jared. No snacks on the table this time. Just water, folders, and fear. The agent didn't waste time. No introductions, no PowerPoint, no polite icebreakers. Just a laptop. Volume up, play. Compliance is just paperwork. Jared's voice, clear as a bell. Room went silent. Not awkward silent, stunned. Sick, dead, silent. I could feel the tension pressing against the glass. Then the agent said one thing. Explain this? Nothing. Trent looked down. Legal shifted. Someone near the head of the table dropped a pen. No one moved to pick it up. Jared opened his mouth, closed it again, swallowed. I meant, he started. The agent raised a hand. No, not what you meant. Who signed off on non-certified vendor approvals for routed federal contracts? Jared stared straight ahead. The agent waited. Still. Who oversaw compliance protocol during this time? That's when it happened. One by one, heads turned. Toward the empty chair. Mine. No one said my name. They didn't need to. The absence said it louder. Then, a board member, Hendricks, from procurement, cracked the door. His tie was crooked, voice low. Can you join us? I stepped in, calm, binder in hand. Jared turned when I entered, eyes wide like he was seeing a ghost. I didn't look at him. I walked to the open seat and placed the binder on the table with both hands. Sat down, flipped to the first tab. Section 1, I said. Executive sign-offs by risk category. No one interrupted. The agent leaned forward. Start from the beginning. So I did. I walked them through every piece. Timeline, login mismatches, cloned credentials, vendor timelines, contract anomalies. Every approval without documentation. Every compliance clause skipped or redacted. I didn't perform. Didn't raise my voice. I wasn't there to sell it. I was the evidence. 10 minutes in, Jared stood. Okay, come on, he started. The agent didn't even look at him. Sit, he said. Jared froze, sat back down. I kept going. Second tab, blank sign-offs. Third, remote logins. Fourth, risk projections. Worst-case scenarios if the contracts had gone active under current conditions. I laid out fine estimates, audit triggers, DOT clauses flagged in red. The board said nothing. CFO just stared straight ahead. General counsel's pen tapped the edge of her notepad nonstop. Soft, shaky rhythm like a ticking clock. By the time I reached the final tab, no one was making eye contact with Jared. Final section, I said. Retaliation. Timeline of internal actions following my flagged report to FHSA. Attempts to lock me out, tamper with evidence, reassign me. I placed the final printed log on the table. Here's the access attempt from an unknown device using my credentials. Happened 3 hours after I submitted backup files to legal. The agent looked at legal. Is that confirmed? She nodded once, tight. He closed the folder in front of him and stood. Thank you, Ron. Please stay available. Then he looked at the board. You'll be hearing from us. He left without another word. No one moved. I didn't either. Finally, Hendricks cleared his throat. Looked at me, not condescending this time. Not amused. Ron, he said. You free next week? I closed the binder. Depends what for. By 4:41 p.m., it was official. Company-wide email. Plain header, no emotion. Subject, leadership update. Kolba. Nanda. Fleet Department body. Effective immediately, Jared McAllister has been placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of an internal investigation. Please direct all fleet-related questions to Trent Wallace or Ron Weston. No, thank you for your service. No canned quote from the CEO, just facts. I sat back in my chair, didn't smirk, didn't celebrate. I just stared at the screen for a full minute. Then I opened my log and added one last entry under retaliation response. External pressure event. At 5:05 p.m., I passed his office. Light off, chair pushed in, nameplate gone, no box, no jacket, no goodbye. Just shadows and silence. That was Friday. By Monday morning, I was in the executive conference room. Different seat this time, head of the table. No one told me to sit there. No one had to. The CFO held the door open for me. They were already waiting. No coffee cups, no small talk, not a single open laptop. The quarterly audit prep had turned into a crisis debrief, and now I was running it. I opened my folder, no theatrics, no preamble. Here's what's missing, I said. Here's what was rerouted. Here's what puts us at legal risk. I laid out a full compliance map, showing exactly how Jared bypassed routing checks, who signed without reading, where DOT red flags would trigger if reviewed today. Printed copies for everyone, color-coded by exposure level. They didn't interrupt. No one made a joke. No one tried to lighten the mood. By the end, I had outlined 4 federal risk points, 6 contract exposure failures, and 3 clear retaliatory actions tied to my whistleblower status. It was all backed by printed logs, system trails, and physical documentation. General counsel didn't argue, just kept underlining things. Trent didn't speak once. The CFO finally broke the silence. Whatever you need, Ron. That was it. No conditions, no negotiation, just authority handed over, like a set of keys. After the meeting, I walked back to my desk. My badge worked again. First try, printer fully unlocked. Queued jobs ran like nothing had ever happened. IT restored my full Slack access that afternoon. Dispatch logs, edit history, everything back. No one said it out loud, but the message was clear. I wasn't the backup plan anymore. I was the blueprint. That week, Margaret from Routing sent over 2 years' worth of archived approvals, unprompted. Legal asked for copies of my vendor tracking spreadsheet. Procurement booked a one-on-one to understand the system you used. Funny, a month ago, I was the guy they mocked for carrying binders. Now they were asking where I bought them. And Jared? Ghost. No follow-up email, no farewell tour, just erased. I overheard someone say he stepped back to explore personal interests. Sure he did. His interests just happened to vanish the moment the federal badge walked in. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need credit. I just needed the silence. The same silence I'd worked in for 14 years. To finally say something back. And this time, it did. The printer room door opened on the first try now. No blinking badge, no red light, no passive-aggressive IT tickets. I didn't even think about it anymore. My audit schedule was pinned on the glass wall outside the boardroom, not marked tentative, not under review. Just posted, full month. Color-coded, signed off. No one touched it. Jared never came back. No notice. No official goodbye, just gone. Rumors said he was consulting, probably in some co-working space downtown pretending to be busy. I doubt it was voluntary. The CEO, neck deep in hearings. Federal review boards wanted a full breakdown of internal controls, whistleblower policy, vendor compliance tracking, and procedural oversight. Translation, all the stuff Jared laughed at, and I logged. Now legal couldn't get enough of it. Hey Ron, can we review how you structure internal sign-off chains? Ron, would you mind training our contracts team on your audit trail method? Every question started the same way now. Ron, can you? The board asked me to present at Q1 review. No script, just talk. I laid out where we'd been, where the holes were, how we'd seal them. They listened. They took notes. They waited for my answers. Not Jared's, not Trent's, mine. A year ago, they used to call me the filing cabinet in a cardigan. That one came from Chris and Fleet, the guy who once spilled coffee on my binder and called it an upgrade. Now, they call me when things catch fire. They don't ask if I'm free. They ask what I need. It wasn't loud. I didn't march in and slam my fist on the table. I didn't post a rant or name drop anyone in some grand speech. I filed, I watched, then I moved. They offered me a culture role, a way to disappear politely. Instead, I gave them a new culture. Now compliance doesn't sit in the corner. It runs the room. And anyone who thinks compliance is just paperwork, they'll find out the same way Jared did. Slow, documented, permanent.